The year was 1973, and February in Las Vegas carried the chill of winter that mingled seamlessly with the neon-lit heat of the entertainment capital of the world. The city thrived on its unique blend of glitz, glamour, and grit, its streets alive with the energy of gamblers, dreamers, and star chasers. For many, it was the city where impossible dreams came true under the dazzling lights of the Strip. At the heart of this pulsating metropolis stood the iconic International Hotel, its sprawling showroom preparing to host a series of performances by one of the most celebrated entertainers of all time, Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll. Fresh off the monumental success of his Aloha from Hawaii special, a groundbreaking satellite broadcast that had reached audiences across the globe, Elvis was riding a wave of unparalleled fame. The January event had been nothing short of revolutionary, solidifying his status as a global superstar. Fans had marveled at his charisma, his commanding stage presence, and his ability to connect with audiences across borders and cultures. The world had bowed before the king, reaffirming his throne as not just a musical icon, but a symbol of resilience, ambition, and artistry. Yet beneath the surface of this triumph lay a man grappling with profound personal struggle. The demands of his relentless career were taking a visible toll on his health. Years of grueling performances and the emotional strain of his recent divorce from Priscilla Presley weighed heavily on him. The divorce had left him feeling exposed and vulnerable, while the pressures of sustaining his legacy added an almost unbearable burden. To make matters worse, he had been suffering from severe throat issues, a troubling development for someone whose voice was his lifeblood. Las Vegas's famously dry air only exacerbated his condition. Each note he sang a testament to his endurance and determination. Elvis's commitment to his fans remained steadfast despite his challenges. He was acutely aware of the expectations that came with his title as the king of rock and roll. People traveled from around the globe to see him perform, drawn by his magnetic stage presence and the promise of an unforgettable show. For Elvis, the stage was both sanctuary and battlefield, a place where he could transcend his struggles even as he fought battles few would ever see. The anticipation for his February performances was palpable. Fans poured into Las Vegas from all corners of the world, their excitement electrifying the air. The International Hotel buzzed with energy as crowds gathered, eager for a glimpse of the legend who had defined a generation. Backstage, however, the atmosphere was far more complicated. Elvis's team worked tirelessly to keep the king prepared and protect, acutely aware of his vulnerabilities. Security measures were stringent, with the looming threat of overzealous fans or more sinister actors always at the back of their mind. As the lights dimmed on the opening night of his residency, the audience erupted into thunderous applause. The curtain rose and Elvis took the stage, his silhouette immediately recognizable. Clad in one of his iconic jumpsuits, he exuded an aura of strength and charm, belying the struggles that threatened to consume him. The king was in his element, or so it seemed. Little did anyone know that this night would soon become one of the most dramatic and unforgettable moments of his career. The showroom was packed, its air thick with anticipation. Fans leaned forward in their seats, captivated by every move Elvis made. His opening numbers were nothing short of mesmerizing, each song a perfect blend of raw energy and emotional depth. He moved across the stage with a fluidity that seemed almost otherworldly, his voice soaring over the audience like a spell. The crowd was enraptured, their cheers and applause cascading in waves. Yet amidst this euphoria, a faint but growing dissonance began to ripple through the room. Seated near the stage was a small group of 5 individuals, 4 men and 1 woman. At first, they appeared no different from any other fans, their eyes fixed on the stage. But as the show progressed, their behavior began to draw attention. The clinking of beer bottles punctuated the music, their low murmurs growing louder with each passing moment. What started as mild distraction soon escalated into something far more disruptive. Empty beer bottles began rolling onto the stage, spinning and clattering at the feet of the opening act, comedian Jackie Kahane. The audience murmured in disapproval, their irritation evident. Jackie attempted to carry on, cracking jokes to diffuse the tension, but the antics of the group were impossible to ignore. The disruptive clatter was a stark contrast to the polished atmosphere of the show, unsettling both the performers and the crowd. When Elvis finally took the stage, the group's behavior seemed to subside momentarily. The crowd's focus shifted entirely to the king, their cheers drowning out any lingering disturbances. But the group was far from finished. Just 3 songs into Elvis's set, the woman in their party stood abruptly. Her movements were deliberate, almost unnervingly calm. She climbed onto the table in front of her and began walking toward the stage. At first, the audience assumed she was an overzealous fan, eager to interact with her idol. But as she neared the stage, her demeanor took on an eerie quality. There was no excitement, no urgency in her steps. She moved with a measured composure that sent a ripple of unease through the crowd. Reaching Elvis, she silently took the scarf from around his neck, draped it over her shoulders, and returned to her seat, handing the scarf to one of the men in her group. The exchange was bizarre, lacking the typical fervor of fan interactions. Elvis, ever the consummate professional, brushed off the moment and continued performing. But for those paying attention, the strange calmness of the woman's actions hinted at something darker brewing beneath the surface. Unbeknownst to the crowd, this group's disruptions were only the beginning. As Elvis launched into his iconic hit Suspicious Minds, the tension in the room reached its breaking point. The group's antics escalated from unsettling to outright threatening. The stage was no longer just a platform for performance, it had become the epicenter of a brewing storm. The night was building toward a dramatic climax, one that would test Elvis's resolve, his courage, and his ability to face danger head-on. The king, already burdened by personal challenges, was about to encounter a moment that would forever etch itself into the annals of music history. The tension in the room reached an almost unbearable peak as Elvis transitioned into Suspicious Minds, one of his signature songs. The crowd, momentarily distracted by the earlier strange behavior of the group near the stage, was once again captivated by the king's performance. His voice, full of emotion and power, washed over the audience, transporting them into the music. The lights danced across the stage, and Elvis, embodying the charisma that had made him a legend, moved with his characteristic energy, occasionally incorporating karate-inspired gestures into his routine. Amidst this mesmerizing performance, few noticed the subtle movements of the disruptive group near the front. Two of the men stood simultaneously, their chairs scraping against the floor. With an abruptness that caught the attention of those nearby, they began advancing toward the stage, their movements deliberate and aggressive. Whispers of alarm rippled through the crowd, but most were still focused on Elvis, unaware of the approaching threat. It wasn't until the two men were nearly at the edge of the stage that the full gravity of the situation became clear. The audience gasped, thousands of breaths held in unison as the men lunged toward the king. For a brief moment, time seemed to freeze. Elvis, caught in the rhythm of his performance, didn't immediately notice the intruders. But then out of the corner of his eye, he saw them, two figures moving swiftly and menacingly toward him. What happened next was a moment of pure instinct, a flash of training and resilience honed over years. Before anyone else could react, Elvis spun toward the attackers, his movements precise and practiced. With a speed that stunned everyone in the room, he delivered a swift karate strike to the first man, sending him sprawling to the ground. The crowd erupted into a cacophony of screams and shouts, a mix of fear, admiration, and sheer disbelief. The second attacker hesitated for a split second, seemingly caught off guard by the king's unexpected defense. It was all the time Elvis needed. He moved again, his stance firm and his expression resolute, prepared to confront the second threat. But before he could strike, his loyal bodyguards, Jerry Schilling, Sonny West, and Red West, stormed the stage. The men, always vigilant and fiercely protective of Elvis, tackled the second assailant before he could reach the king. The stage, a place of music and performance, had suddenly become a battleground. The attackers struggled against the bodyguards, but they were no match for the seasoned team. Within moments, the situation was under control. The assailants subdued and dragged off the stage. The crowd, still processing the chaos, erupted into applause and cheers. Their initial fear transformed into admiration for Elvis, who had not only defended himself, but had done so with a strength and composure that left an indelible impression. In the immediate aftermath, the showroom was a swirling mix of shock, excitement, and unease. The audience had come expecting a night of music and nostalgia, but instead, they had witnessed a dramatic confrontation that blurred the lines between a concert and a real-life drama. Elvis, visibly shaken but composed, stepped back to the microphone. The applause and cheers from the audience had begun to ripple through the room, a spontaneous outpouring of support for their idol. As the commotion subsided, the king addressed his fans, his voice steady but charged with emotion. "I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen," he began, his tone carrying a mixture of apology and defiance. "I'm sorry I didn't break their goddamn neck." The crowd erupted in approval. their cheers and laughter echoing through the venue. Elvis, sensing their unwavering support, continued, his tone growing firmer. "I'll never let another son of a bitch do this at my show. If you want to shake my hand, that's fine, but if you want to pick a fight, I'll whoop your ass, and you know what I'm talking about." The room exploded in applause. The audience's cheers a testament to their admiration for the king's resilience and strength. Elvis's words resonated deeply, transforming what could have been a moment of vulnerability into one of triumph and solidarity. With the attackers removed and the stage cleared, Elvis resumed the concert. The energy in the room, far from diminished, had reached a new height. The crowd, now more connected to the king than ever before, responded to every song with fervent enthusiasm. Elvis, determined to deliver the performance his fans deserved, poured himself into the remainder of the show. By the time the concert ended, the audience was buzzing with a mix of awe and disbelief. They had witnessed not just a musical performance, but a moment of unparalleled courage and charisma from the man they adored. Backstage, the atmosphere was tense, charged with the residual energy of the night's event. Elvis, who had maintained his composure on stage, was now pacing furiously. His mind raced, replaying the incident over and over. The unexpected attack had shaken him to his core, not just because of the physical danger, but because of what it represented. A breach of the sanctity of his performance, a violation of the bond he shared with his fan. Elvis's anger was palpable as he vented to his close circle. "Who the hell were they? What did they want?" he demanded, his voice tinged with frustration and paranoia. His thoughts spiraled, fueled by exhaustion and the emotional weight he carried. Among his growing suspicions was the belief that the attack might not have been random. Mike Stone's name surfaced repeatedly in his thought. Stone, Priscilla's new partner, had become a focal point of Elvis's frustration and paranoia during the tumultuous period following their divorce. In the heat of the moment, Elvis began to question whether Stone, or someone connected to him, might have orchestrated the attack as a way to harm or humiliate him. The notion, though unlikely, gnawed at his mind, adding to the night's emotional toll. Elvis's bodyguards and close friends worked tirelessly to calm him, their reassurances aimed at diffusing his growing paranoia. Investigations into the incident began almost immediately, and as more details emerged, it became clear that the attackers were likely nothing more than overzealous fans who had consumed too much alcohol. Their actions, though disruptive and alarming, lacked the sinister intent Elvis had feared. Gradually, the tension backstage began to ease. Elvis, though still visibly shaken, started to accept the reality of what had happened. The attackers were in police custody, facing charges for their actions, and the heightened security measures promised to prevent such an incident from occurring again. By the end of the night, Elvis had begun to regain his equilibrium. His trusted friends reminded him of his resilience, pointing out how he had turned a chaotic moment into an opportunity to reaffirm his strength and connection with his fans. The king, though weary, understood the truth of their words. He had faced an unexpected threat with courage and had emerged from the ordeal stronger than ever. The events of that night would linger in his memory, a reminder of the unpredictable dangers that came with fame. But they would also serve as a testament to his unyielding spirit and the unwavering loyalty of his fans, a bond that not even an on-stage attack could break. As the dust settled on the dramatic events of the night, the surreal juxtaposition of violence and professionalism became a central talking point among fans and crew alike. While Elvis had defended himself with the precision of a trained fighter, the TCB Band, his trusted ensemble of seasoned musicians, had not missed a beat. Through the chaos, the rhythm of the music had persisted, creating an almost surreal soundtrack to the unfolding altercation. The band's unwavering professionalism was a testament to their deep understanding of the show's creed. The show must go on. Decades of experience performing with Elvis had prepared them for nearly any eventuality, and while none could have anticipated the events of that night, their instincts had guided them flawlessly. The music, steady and unbroken, provided an anchor for the audience, keeping them connected to the performance even as reality veered into the unexpected. Meanwhile, backstage discussions revealed just how much preparation had gone into safeguarding Elvis during his Las Vegas residencies. Over the years, Elvis had received numerous death threats, many of which targeted his highly publicized performances in Vegas. While most were dismissed as empty bravado, the possibility of real danger was always taken seriously. Security measures were meticulous, with a dedicated team ensuring that every detail was scrutinized to protect the king. The attack on stage was a stark reminder of how thin the line between fan devotion and dangerous obsession could be. For many, the idea of getting close to Elvis was a dream, a moment to cherish for a lifetime. But for a small, unpredictable minority, that obsession could turn dark, manifesting in ways that ranged from unsettling to outright dangerous. Adding to the intrigue of the night was its broader historical context. Just days earlier, Elvis had met with Muhammad Ali in Las Vegas, a meeting that had left a lasting impression on both cultural icons. The two men, each at the pinnacle of their respective fields, shared mutual respect and admiration. Ali's strength, charisma, and resilience resonated deeply with Elvis, who found in the boxing champion a kindred spirit. During their meeting, Elvis had gifted Ali a custom-made robe with the words, "The People's Champion," emblazoned on the back, a symbolic gesture that underscored their shared connection. That camaraderie seemed to linger in Elvis's mind as he faced his attackers on stage. Whether consciously or not, his response that night reflected the same kind of fortitude and resolve that had defined Ali's career. It was not lost on fans or critics that Elvis's handling of the incident echoed themes of resilience and determination, themes that had been central to his life and career. In a world that often demanded perfection from its stars, Elvis's ability to navigate moments of chaos with grace and strength further cemented his legendary status. In the days following the incident, Elvis's team worked to ensure the narrative surrounding the attack was carefully managed. The king, ever conscious of his image, wanted to strike a balance between addressing the gravity of the event and reassuring his fans that he remained unshaken. Interviews with those who had attended the concert began to surface, their accounts painting a vivid picture of the night's events. For fans, the attack had transformed an already unforgettable concert into a moment of cultural mythology. Stories of Elvis's karate skills spread like wildfire, each retelling adding layers of awe to the legend. Some described him as a warrior defending his stage, while others marveled at the composure he displayed in the aftermath. Yet, behind the scenes, Elvis wrestled with lingering doubts and fears. The attack had brought his vulnerabilities into sharp focus, forcing him to confront the ever-present risks of fame. The stage, which had always been his sanctuary, now felt tinged with the possibility of danger. His trust in the audience, a trust that had been fundamental to his connection with fans, was shaken, if only slightly. Elvis's inner circle, however, saw the incident as an opportunity to strengthen his resolve. They reminded him of the loyalty and love his fans felt for him, pointing to the thunderous applause and cheers that had followed his defense on stage. "You showed them who you really are," Jerry Schilling told him. "Not just the king of rock and roll, but a man who doesn't back down." Over time, the narrative of the incident began to shift. What could have been a moment of vulnerability became a testament to Elvis's strength, his ability to rise above adversity and protect both himself and his art. Fans rallied around him with renewed fervor, their admiration deepened by the knowledge that their idol was as resilient as he was talented. For Elvis, the experience left a lasting impression. He became more cautious, his security team more vigilant. Yet rather than retreating into fear, he embraced the lesson of the night. That strength is not just about physical ability, but also about the courage to face the unexpected with grace and determination. The events of February 1973 showcased Elvis Presley's resilience and courage, turning a shocking confrontation into a moment that solidified his legendary status. Faced with danger, Elvis rose above adversity, defending himself and reaffirming his unyielding connection with his fans. This unforgettable night reminds us that Elvis was not just a musical icon, but a man of immense strength and resolve. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more incredible tales about Elvis Presley and other music legends. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned for our next journey into the rich history of music.